Hello Aries, welcome to the month of May 2022. I do hope that this video finds you well and in good spirits as always. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Michael. I use tarot and astrology to give you monthly guidance for your zodiac sign. And the month of May is a very impactful and big one. We are in eclipse season. We do also have Mercury retrograde as well. I will kind of explain what all of this means for you, Aries. But needless to say, this is a really big month. There's some intensity here. I actually have all of your cards already on the table, and it kind of gives me that similar vibe. So let's sort of break this down. Before we dive too far into your reading, I just want to thank all of you who have supported this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. We recently broke 50K, which is super, super exciting. I do also have a Patreon for people who would like to support this channel in that way, and I offer additional videos, weekly videos, updates, as well as some live streams that have been a lot of fun. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check me out on Patreon as well. And finally, I am running a sale on my website. All of my readings and Reiki sessions are 15% off if you use the code ECLIPSE by May 16th. And all of those links are in the description box down below. Anyways, Aries, I was saying we have your cards on the table here, and the first card I had was the Emperor in reverse. And this is very interesting because this is your card. And with this showing up in the past in this position, it feels like there is something that has just felt out of alignment for you. It's almost like you haven't felt like yourself. And this makes a lot of sense to me because the ruling planet for your sign, Mars, is in Pisces for a good portion of this month, really. And Pisces is your 12th house. It is your subconscious. And there's a lot of stuff with you looking at ways you may be sabotaging yourself, ways you may be playing victim, perhaps. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. These are things we all do. And it might just be like this sort of mirror that is being reflected back at you this month. It's kind of hard to not notice these things. Or there's certain dynamics that are playing out, and they're playing out very subconsciously for you. And you might be in this cycle again and again, especially with authority or maybe something that is traditional, that is really making you kind of throw your hands up in the air and be like, okay, something deeper is going on here. And we do have the Nine of Coins in reverse as well. And again, this makes me feel like something that is stable, something that is traditional. And this is not necessarily how many people would read the Nine of Pentacles, but the way I am really feeling this with your energy, Aries, it's like you are in a situation or you have a life that looks good on the surface to someone, or there's something that is stable, or there's just a lot of focus on finding that stability. Maybe you don't even have it, but it's like, if my life just looked this way, if I just had these things, or if I had this lifestyle, then I would be in good shape. And honestly, Aries, I think this is something that you really need to be introspecting quite heavily on, if this is resonating for you in any way. We do have this eclipse happening on the 16th in Scorpio, in your 8th house. And there really is, again, this really big focus on you transforming or changing something. And it really is a time to kind of go through the skeleton closet and look at the things that might be hard to look at. And that includes things, I'm actually getting addiction for some of you with the devil in reverse. Some of you are trying to break out of addictions or habits or cycles that aren't good for you. And I feel like part of this energy with the Nine of Coins and even the Emperor in reverse, a lot of what's happening for you this month is you are being asked to look at the ways you have coped with your life and the ways you sought comfort rather than try to create a life that you actually want to live. You're kind of just dealing with life. And I think we've all done this, especially in the past couple of years. It's been very disruptive, very ungrounding, and we've all just done the best we can to kind of move through these crazy times. But I think you're getting to this point now where you're realizing the way you have been living is not something that is serving you. And to be honest with you, Aries, the way I'm kind of reading this with your energy, I think this pattern is actually something that is much larger than the past couple of years. It's like you had this specific vision for your life, or you had this kind of lifestyle that was placed on you, these expectations that were placed on you, and you internalized in some way. But I really feel like you're at this point now where you're either unhappy with the life you have, or you feel like the life you want is unattainable and that's the only way that you can be happy. And I want to challenge either of those assumptions that you could be making. Maybe you're resonating with both of these messages in some way. We do have the Eight of Wands in reverse for you as well. And this might be representing some difficulty moving forward, things feeling really heavy. And it's funny because one of the best things that's happening for you is Jupiter is entering your sign. And this is happening on the 10th, the same day that Mercury is going retrograde. You're actually very lucky in this upcoming cycle, but with Mercury going retrograde on the same day, it might not be something that you see right away. And this could be involving some travel delays or miscommunications or messages not going through. That could be something to pay attention to. I'm actually getting the sense that at least a couple of you, it's like you thought you sent a message, but you didn't, and you were waiting for a response, or someone just didn't get your original message for whatever weird reason. So there's literally something with communication or interference that is coming through. So kind of double check if you're waiting to hear from something and you're not getting something or getting word back. You might need to see if something didn't go through. But yeah, there's this thing that's like, I also just feel, Aries, it's like you can't go forward on the path you've been on. And things aren't necessarily going according to plan this month. That's kind of just Mercury retrograde. It can be very chaotic energy. And it's kind of just like inconvenient. With the eclipse energy on top of that, we are in the eclipse window because we had the first eclipse on April 28th, or I'm sorry, April 30th, right at the end of April. And then we have the second one on May 16th. And we are in this window of time that's very intense. There's a lot of disruption. Old ways of being are ending, new ways of being are beginning. And for the future, we do have the Judgment card. And this is what feels really major. This is what feels really big. And I think this is coinciding with not only Mars entering your sign on the 20th, which is giving you kind of this fire again. It's giving you your energy back. It's giving you this ability, maybe after you've held yourself back or sabotaged something, you are able to move forward and you are answering this call. And I think this is also really important to kind of consider with Jupiter also being in your sign. Jupiter and Mars are going to be forming a conjunction. I believe that is on the 29th. And Mars entering your sign, that is on the 24th. I think I misspoke. I believe I just said the 20th. It is the 24th that Mars enters your sign, and then Mars is joining Jupiter on the 29th, right before the new moon in Gemini. And there is something about a message or a communication. There's a really important conversation at the end of this month, I think, or a really important idea. And clarifying this Judgment card, we do have the 10 of Cups in reverse. And this is interesting. And what this feels like to me again is the sense that your idea of happiness, whether this is a traditional picture of happiness or just what you think happiness looks like for yourself, I think that's something you really kind of need to sort through. Because I almost get the sense that what you thought would make you happy isn't making you happy. Or the things that once made you happy aren't making you happy anymore. And maybe that is the devil in reverse. Maybe it's too much of a good thing for some of you. Or maybe there is something about overconsumption of some kind, overspending. But this feels very deep. and very existential. And so much of this eclipse, too, with the devil in reverse, this really is about you releasing karma and releasing yourself from debts. But in order to do this, you must be willing to change and to let go of some things. And there's so much in the astrology for you this month that is indicating a new chapter, a new cycle. And Jupiter will kind of go through a little jaunt in your sign in 2022. It'll retrograde back into Pisces, and then by the time we're in 2023, Jupiter will be back in your sign. So there could be things that are starting to come into your life now that are signaling changes that are going to happen next year. And you yourself are going to be very lucky, but you have to be willing to take risks. And that's something that is kind of a spillover from the eclipse that we had in April. We had the new moon eclipse in Taurus forming conjunction or right on top of Uranus, which is the catalyst. It's the great awakener. And there really is this energy of needing to get out of our comfort zone. And this was a message I really had for the collective. And honestly, this makes a lot of sense for you because Aries, you represent the collective in a lot of ways, because your rising sign sort of sets up the precedent for all of the other signs. When we're kind of just looking at astrology in general. So there really is this level of introspection and a need to get out of your comfort zone and break yourself free from that. I do want to pull some more cards for you, but those were just kind of my immediate impressions. I actually have my moon deck kind of far away, had to reach for that. I'm feeling very drawn to use this deck in particular for you, and I'm going to read this from the book because this oracle message is very specific. Wow. Okay. Full moon in Scorpio, which is the full moon this month. It is the eclipse. And the message here is it's time to release negativity. What was I saying? It's like all of these things that aren't serving you anymore, these things that you thought would make you happy, but were really just covering up something deeper. That's going to be very, very thematic for you with this eclipse, I think. But you are releasing these things. And to be honest, this full moon eclipse is not going to be fun for anyone. The moon is actually in its fall in the sign of Scorpio. And it's right on top of the South Node, which is about needing to let things go and wanting to hold on to the past, wanting to stay comfortable, wanting to stay with things that are familiar. But it's going to become very evident what we need to release this month. And I feel like some of you are releasing... This is kind of a specific message, but with the 10 of Cups, some of you are potentially leaving a relationship, or it feels more like a story, whatever this means. It's like you're giving up the story of a relationship, whether this is about a specific person or just what you think relationships were supposed to look like or what you think they're supposed to look like. Some of you... Honestly, with this card falling in the 8th house, I would not be surprised if there are people watching this who are even questioning their sexual orientation. And maybe that's the thing that's like, oh, my life is going to look very differently than I thought it would. Or maybe there's something with gender there because the 8th house does rule over sexuality. Obviously, very specific message. I don't expect that to apply to the majority of you. But I think it's worth mentioning just with the cards here and with the astrology of this month. Anyways, let's take a look at this full moon in Scorpio. If you've been feeling paranoid and acting weird, take this card as a very direct message from the cosmos to stop it. Worrying yourself is pointless. It's time to release any negativity you have around the situation you're asking about. If someone has been unkind to you, perhaps it's time for you to release them. This card heralds an emotionally intense time since both the full moon and Scorpio themselves are both extremely intense. It's time for you to feel all your feelings. There could be some nastiness in the air when you pull this card. If that's the case, take it as a sign to move away from anyone or anything you feel is toxic. For some, however, this card has a totally different meaning. Your sex life can improve now, if you make an effort. Use your magic. You have all you need inside you to bring about your desired result. Emote. It's better than out than in. Additional meanings for this card. It's time to move from living fearfully to living joyfully. You're right to have your suspicions. Grudges are toxic. Let something go. The end of an argument. The teaching. The full moon in Scorpio has a sting in its tail. It can herald a vindictive end to a relationship. It can also be a time when we want to be good, but we're naughty. If you pull this card, no matter when, your dark side and your shadow self may be showing. The full moon in Scorpio is also a time of magic. If you're thinking of making some magic, this is your sign to do it. Now, with this last message, I think it's very important. It's generally ill-advised to do magic or manifestation around an eclipse. But a lot of these messages literally just repeated what I was saying. So with the omission of that, I feel like a lot of this is on point. And the reason we don't do magic or intention setting or trying to work with energy is because the energy of the eclipses is much larger than kind of our mundane lives. And the energy itself is representing a collective shift, and we are part of that collective. We are adapting, we are shifting with that energy. And so it's almost like letting the eclipse do its magic on you. And when we are working with eclipse, we are working with shadow. And one of the best ways we can work with this, if we are going to work with it, is almost to use the shadow that is either crossing over the moon, in this case, or the sun, is to release things in that shadow and to let them go. Otherwise, if we are working with these energies too intensely, we could be suffusing ourselves in this shadowy energy. So it is important to just be very cautious with energy work around this time, specifically manifestation or intention setting. It might be good to do some sort of energy work just to allow yourself to flex and adapt with the energy. I do Reiki as well, and again, I do have a sale on my website if that's something that feels like would be useful for you, because I do feel like a lot of you are releasing something energetically, but I also think there is something in your life or someone potentially. And for you really specifically, again, I don't even know if it's you necessarily letting go of a relationship. It's like letting go of the story of the relationship. I kind of feel like for a lot of you, you've known the relationship is over. It's been over. For those of you, that's the message. And you're kind of just letting yourself let go of those things that you held on to because you didn't think you could be happier. You didn't think there was something better, or you didn't feel on some level you were worthy of something better. You are worthy of this happiness, and you don't have to play small with that. I feel like some of you didn't dream big enough for yourself, for your relationship, for your life, for your career. You've tried playing it safe, but it's just become soul-sucking. Is there anything else? I do want to pull one more card for you. I want to pull an animal card. But honestly, this feels pretty complete. What is the animal wisdom for Aries? Owl, working with our magic, finding the gift and blessing in darkness. Owls have these highly evolved senses, highly evolved sight and hearing, and they are very attuned to the world that most people cannot see. So there is something magical here for sure. Even if we're not doing manifestation right around the moon, there is something about you tuning into your magic or tapping into your magic this month. And it feels like this shift that you are on, this spiritual calling, this invitation is leading you into something that feels quite otherworldly, which is very, very interesting to me. And it's interesting because owl does represent a boon or a blessing that is on the way. So if it does feel like things are hard or challenging right now, take this as a good sign. You might need to open your perspective, open your perception to perceive these things. But there are many good things coming for you. And those are all the messages I have for you this month, Aries. I hope that this was helpful. You are welcome to check out the videos for your other placements, your moon or rising sign. I will have a playlist at the end of this video that you can click on. And again, all of my links are in the description box down below. And I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a happy, safe, and blessed May. I know that feels kind of weird, but really just allow yourself to transform. I hope you have a transformative month. Take care, Aries.